What's up guys, Damian here, welcome back to the channel. So, in case you are watching from the future, this is not a trend. This is not the fashion. This is day many of the current lockdown. And I am completely aware that I do look like a villain from the next Lego movie, but hey, I can't go out. So you guys are gonna have to just lump it. So we are many weeks into this lockdown and we are in the eye of the storm, and let's be honest, it's starting to get majorly tedious and boring, but more importantly, it's starting to take a toll on lots of your motivation and inspiration to get things done. After all, how do you stay motivated and find that inspiration when you're in the same house, in the same flat, or just in the same room? Well, today we are going to look at some tips to get you back on track, to get you motivated, writing and promoting the way you should, even if you are looking at 4 grey walls and can't go outside. Let me start by saying my situation is exactly the same. I am motivated and inspired by you guys. I watch what you're doing. I look at the daily trends. I look at how the market is shifted and the music industry is changing on a daily basis. And I look at the problems that you guys are facing, and then I make videos according to what I'm seeing. But there's no movement. You guys can't go out and gig. You guys can't really properly promote knowing that things are going to change again in a couple of months. So therefore, all of my inspiration, all of my motivation, everything that I'm doing to make videos is purely thought about this time, because it isn't the best time to release music, as lots of people are saying. So therefore, I'm trying to think of the now, and it's very, very difficult other than now and planning for the future to get into my rhythm of sitting down and being motivated. But at the same time, I'm the same as you. I want to be motivated. I want to make more videos. I want to make more content. I want to talk to you guys. I don't just want to wait. I know I've got to create. I know I've got to find that motivation from somewhere. But it is difficult. So how do you do it? Music has always been littered with people who force the inspiration. We've all heard about Max Martin, one of the greatest songwriters of all time. But Nashville is littered with people like Laura Veltz, who write hit after hit. What about Stock Aitken and Waterman, who owned the 80s with so many different hit records? And then probably the greatest example of all is Berry Gordy's Motown, who just produced hit after hit after hit, like some kind of factory. But how did they keep their motivation? Because once you've written about something, you need to be motivated by something else or inspired by something else. How did or how do these masterminds stay motivated and find inspiration? And more importantly, what can you do today to re-find your mojo? Firstly, freedom to create comes from routine and discipline. And I know that sounds really crazy, but in order for you to have this headspace, to find this headspace to create, you need to make the rest of your life as disciplined as possible. If you're just waking up as and when and doing whatever you want as and when, and then picking up a guitar and thinking, maybe I'll try and write some songs, you're gonna struggle. Your whole life at the moment is in this lockdown, is in a place where you can do whatever you want. So you need some routine. So when you wake up, what you do when you wake up, having certain times allocated to you being creative can very much help, so that you're not making all of the decisions all day long. What shall I do now? What shall I do then? What shall I do later? You're saying, no, I've got my routine mapped out. I'm taking away this decision making so that I can concentrate on the freedom to create at the right time. The legend that's Tim Ferriss says, take away the decision and add in the routine. Effectively, you want to simplify your life as much as possible at the moment. Anything that doesn't need to be done, and let's face it, there's plenty of stuff that doesn't need to be done, can go. Let's just stick to the stuff that we really need to do and simplify your day-to-day life so that you have more time and more brain space to be able to concentrate on making the best product, the best songs, the best sound, the best content that you can possibly make. While I'm trying to keep in touch with as many friends as possible, one thing that seems to be a common thread is this busy fool. I talk to people and they go, yeah, I'm really busy. I don't know why, I'm not working, but I'm really busy. Well, that's because we're finding things to do. Oh, I've got more life admin to do. Oh, I need to sort out the garden, or I need to go and touch up the paint in that kitchen, which I've been meaning to do forever. You don't need to do those things. We're just finding stuff to do to get to the end of the day to go, yeah, I feel like I was pretty busy today. But there's a difference between being busy and achieving something. So right now, simplify your life, take away anything that you don't need to do, and let's make it as easy as possible. Effectively, you are rigging yourself for success. Number 2, what are you doing to find inspiration, to go looking for that inspiration? Inspiration is like breathing. It has to come in as well as go out. It's not an exit only thing. It's like energy. It takes inspiration to create some kind of inspiration. So are you going looking for that inspiration? And if so, what is it that you are doing? Think about what you and most people write about, whether it's relationships or stories or experiences or the news. Right now, everything has become very tunnel vision. News. That's pretty much it. News and whether the spider in the corner has moved any further. Other than that, there's not a lot of stuff happening other than the obvious stuff outside. But you can't just write song after song after song about what is happening out there. So if you think that PS4 games and pizza is going to be a long-term win for your inspiration, you're probably going to be wrong. So how much are you reading right now? How much are you taking in right now? How many podcasts are you listening to right now? What is it that you're seeking out for this inspiration? Because I find when I'm doing these videos, when I'm talking to you guys, I get more and more inspiration. But the time I am most inspired is when I have to take a 4 to 5 hour drive to where my other business is up north of England, because at that point, I've got 4 or 5 hours where I'm listening to podcasts or taking in some kind of marketing or advertising or music industry related news, and that way I'm forming these ideas and thinking, and I've got 4 or 5 hours there and 4 or 5 hours back in a day. The next day I am never ever stuck for ideas. Why? Because I was inspired. I went looking for the inspiration, found it, and the next day I'm on track. Number 3, knowing when to push and knowing when to take a break. Now I'm guessing that you have daily targets or weekly targets, and if you don't, now is the time to put that in. You need to stop and do that first. That should be job number 1. Because if you know what you're working towards, not just on a daily or weekly or long-term basis, at least that way you know how to break that down. If you can't do that, you're going to struggle. Now, I'm a big fan of pushing and forcing through that inspiration, but sometimes when you've been pushing and forcing it for a while, sometimes it's clear that you need a break. You need to do something different. Otherwise, you lose all motivation. You lose that passion. And you start to resent what you're doing. For me, I remember this very, very well. As a bass player, many years ago, I was playing 3-4 gigs every single week in, week out. And I remember where I was. I remember the stage. I remember the people I was with. I remember the song I was playing at a moment where I just thought, I just don't want to do this anymore. I've just got to a point where I've just had enough. And I remember thinking, finishing the gig, going home, putting my bass in the corner and just not touching it and just thinking, I'll pass out some gigs, I'll debt them to a few friends of mine, I just need to take a break. And I didn't play again for, I think it was about 2 years, 1.5 years, 2 years. I just had enough at that moment. And I didn't need to let it get that far. What I could have done is I could have added in some more motivation, some inspiration, some different routines, some exciting things to look forward to instead of letting it get to breaking point, which you don't want to do. So the world is on pause. The music industry is on pause. You can't go and do a lot of gigs, and therefore your music promotion is going to be on pause the same as everyone else, but you're not losing traction. Because whilst you're paused, everyone else is paused. If you want to take a week break, a month break, or a break until this is over and then start again, there's nothing wrong with that right now. You need to have this passion inside you to carry on going. Otherwise, your passion will go and you'll want to give up long term rather than for a few hours or a few days. Number 4, surround yourself with great people. Now, I know you can't physically surround yourself at the moment with people, that's not allowed, but you can digitally surround yourself with people. So imagine, let's go back in time to Motown, like I was talking about earlier. Imagine being around at that time with all of the amazing inspirational people that you could bump into in that era around Motown. You're talking people like James Jamerson, Carol Kaye, Steve Cropper, Smokey Robinson, Lionel Richie, Berry Gordy. I mean, the list goes on. All of these inspirational musicians, all of these inspirational writers, producers. It's just an inspirational time, not just because of the music, because of the people that are there. Now, whether it's your bandmates, whether it's other artists, whether it's people you look up to or other peers, I think you should be thinking right now of how you can be contacting and chatting, networking, and just being playful with other people who are in the same boat as yourself. Talking to people who are inspirational will give you more inspiration. Again, inspiration comes in, it goes out. So therefore, go and find the inspiration by other people. Go and talk to people. Go and talk about music. Go and talk about riffs. Go and talk about songs. Go and talk about chord changes. Go and talk about time signatures. Go and talk about something interesting that gives you some motivation, and think to yourself, wow, now there's a couple of us in the same boat. I promise you, every single day becomes a little bit easier when you've got other people to share this with. And number 5, are you rewarding yourself? And I don't mean just doing what you want when you want, because at the moment we can do that. I'm talking about, if I do this, I'm going to dangle a little carrot. I'm going to say, do you know what? I won't have that awesome smoothie. I won't have that bar of chocolate. I won't watch that YouTube video. I won't watch that Netflix series until I've done this thing that I need to do. Because otherwise, where's the motivation? In order to say, well, I don't need to because I can do anything I want whenever I want, so I'll get around to it, instead of actually adding in that discipline, that routine, and saying, I'm going to achieve something, and if I do, I will allow myself to have a small win. If you can celebrate the small wins, it becomes a lot easier to celebrate the big wins. If you can't celebrate the small wins, you're going to struggle to celebrate them big wins. Creativity is an infinite resource, but you have to tap into it, because if you can't, that's when you get writer's block, and all of a sudden it's a downward spiral. You get less motivated, less inspired, and then achieve less the next day, which means you feel even less motivated, less inspired, and then the anxiety starts to creep in and everything starts to go wrong. What we need to do is spin it on its head, so you have these small victories, and the way you do that is by routine and discipline and rewards and finding that inspiration. But if all else fails, I do have one last tip, and one thing that I think you should be doing anyway, which is, in this time, why not create something absolutely ridiculous? Something completely absurd, something that you can just say, I'm just going to create it for the hell of it. Why not write that song with 4 choruses? Why not write something with 3 time signatures? Why not write something absolutely bonkers, something insane? Because when it comes to being inspired, inspiration comes from fun. Inspiration comes from passion. And rather than making that boxed routine so much so that that goes into your songwriting, the whole point is to create this discipline and routine to free up the creativity. So when it comes to the creativity, why not do the exact opposite? Why not write that 12-minute opera that you wanted to write? Why not do something absolutely bonkers so that you can say, I did that. That was something I needed to do just for my own passion and creativity. While we know there's some horrific stuff going on there and we are stuck inside and every day feels like a prison sentence, why not have fun and play? This is the time where we can do that. We can spend the next couple of weeks just going out of our mind with ridiculous, fun, playful, insane, stupid ideas that we'll never use maybe, but we can always look at them and laugh, show our friends, and just think, I just needed to get that out of my system. And we don't know what's around the corner or how long we're going to have to stay in this lockdown. So we're going to have to find our inspiration from elsewhere, because it doesn't need to stop. This is about your passion and how you look after your passion. This is about why you started it and why you love it, and refinding that and making sure that every day you look after that passion so that you're making and creating and keeping things going over the next couple of months while times are tough. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Tell me how you're inspired. Tell me how you're staying motivated and the ideas that you've got to keep your passion alive. Do that in the comments below. But guys, most importantly, stay safe, keep the passion alive, look after yourselves, because we're going to come through this the other side. But if you can do me a favor, like, subscribe, all the usual stuff. More importantly, come and be a part of this community, because we're doing this every single day and I'm so proud of what we're building. But thanks for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow.